Hello fellow game makers and welcome back to another video. Today I want to show you a little game concept I made, because that's a little series I want to start. I just want to make a game every week and then show it to you. It won't be really pretty, it won't be super exciting, just the game mechanics done. Maybe I'm gonna do some graphics, sometimes I'm too lazy, but yeah, I just want to show you the game concept, and if you like it I will make it to a full game. So yeah, I hope you like it, and let's get straight into it. And also, if you like this content, maybe consider subscribing, because many people watching this content aren't subscribed to this channel. So go ahead and subscribe and maybe like this video. You would really do me a favor. And with that out of the way, let's just get straight to the video. So this week's game is a plane shooter kind of thing. You probably know it is. It's a fairly popular mobile game where you have to dodge missiles which just fly to you. I just found this kind of fun. I think it's a good project to show that game making is easy and fun, and that pretty much everyone can do it, and it's really not complicated. So I just want to show you this right here. If I press play, you can see the plane is following my mouse, and there are little missiles coming. I can dodge them and they will start following me, and if they collide with each other, a really not a nice particle effect comes. And I really don't like it, but it's the best I could make. I'm not good with particle systems. And yeah, the count up here goes up and I lose lives when I hit another missile. You can see if I dodge into them, you can see that I get minus a health. And yeah, basically I just do this, and it's actually pretty addicting. When I made this project, I would just sit here for 5 minutes and just play my own game. It was kind of dumb, but yeah, I actually kind of like how it turned out, though the graphics are not nice and I don't really like them because I made them myself. But let's just have a small look at my scene right here. I of course have a game manager with spawn points. They're all right here. They are just spawn points scattered around the screen, so that at these points my enemies, so my bullets or the missiles you saw earlier, can spawn right there. I of course have a background plane because I need this to get the A-star pathfinder moving, and it doesn't want right here. So this is the A-star pathfinding project. It's pretty popular actually. It's free, you can download it on their website, and it's just a good 2D pathfinder. And yeah, just some settings right here. So it's had a 2D circle collider and used the 2D physics. I think I did not really many things right here. Just set as that's 2D, and I changed the diameter a bit so that it's a bit bigger. I really don't think I did any more to it. And of course it's the grid pathfinder. I did nothing to the main camera. I don't even apply post-processing, but that's how it looks. You know. And the player, it's just a sprite render with my player script, a rigid body and a capsule collider. Nothing more. The bounds, I'm not really proud of those, but I did not know how I could prevent the player flying out of the main camera sights, because if you would play with different screen ratios, I really did not know how to make it. And of course, if you have any suggestions or improvements what I could make better about the game, I mean, I'm still learning myself, you can just write this in the comments, and I'm trying to implement it and actually make it better. So maybe if you have a smarter solution, for example, for those bounds right here, at the moment there are just 4 box colliders preventing the player from flying out of space, you can just write me in the comments and I will try to make better. Of course, because I'm in the lightweight render pipeline to have good 2D lighting, I have run global light right here to get some lighting down, and of course my canvas for my UI. I just have a little heart image right here. I made an Affinity Photo. There's like a tool where you can just make one like a heart. I have a health text with just the Modern Sans Light font, because I just found this would look okay. And of course my score right here. I can also show you the sprites I made. There is a plain sprite. I can just give you a suggestion. If you're not good in making game assets, just take yourself a moment and Google your game assets you want to make, and maybe you get some good inspiration, or even like me, you can get an image you can lay down and then just paint over it. That's how I made this plane. And of course, if you have a game, those assets won't be very big. Like right here, this plane, even on full screen, it's not pretty big, so you don't have to look at it so nicely. I think I made this at 1000 times 1000 pixels. I think that's even too big because I just have it so small. Of course, the heart, the missile I made with the exact same thing because I just had like a reference image and I just painted over it. And of course, I also have the background. That's actually kind of interesting because I just took an ellipse tool and just made like different sizes of ellipses and tried to overlap them. And I think it turned out okay because as a background it's kind of nice. I just wanted something green so it's not looking too brutal. And that's basically it. Of course I had like a little dot for my particle system. And yeah, that's basically the art section. Of course, the pathfinding project, I had some fonts. I also made the enemy. It's as well just a sprite render. Then the seeker script for the A-star pathfinding. But if you want to know more about the A-star pathfinding, I would suggest watching Braky's tutorial on 2D pathfinding. It's a pretty good tutorial. That's how I got into the A-star pathfinding. And the AI path, it's also just a script for the AI pathfinder. And of course, again, just in Capsule Collider, the enemy script I made, it's my script, and of course the rigid body. The only thing I edited for the pathfinding was in the AI destination setter itself. If I would open it, I edited how it find the target, because normally the target would get set via a reference, so you just had to drag and drop your player into a slot, but I didn't like it, and because it somehow did not work, because the enemy is a prefab, I could not drag my player into the enemy, and I would have to make my player prefab, but I did not want that. Don't ask me why. But yeah, so I just added this one line of text so that the target right here is just going to get set by a GameObject.find player and then a transform, because I wanted to transform up here. Nothing big, and we will have a closer look at my scripts soon. I just wanted to have a look at my other prefabs, which the end explosion right here is just a particle system I instantiate whenever a particle, whenever a missile hits another missile, or when a missile hits a plane, or when a plane has no health. I will show that in the code pretty soon. I will show that in the code in a few seconds. I just jumped around a bit in the settings right here, and it turned out like this. It's okay, just a bit randomness, and yeah. You can also have this project file for free on Gumroad. Will be available there for free, or you can donate me a few dollars. It would really help me to continue more content. But now let's have a look at my scripts. The player script basically consists of the main update method and the onTrigger enter2d method. We have the main part, the update method right here, and we can split this up into the movement section and the section where I'll make the sprite look at the cursor. So in the movement section we have a vector 3, which will be the new position. The new position is made up of my mouse position X and my mouse position Y, and of course the Z position, if I would have one. Actually I could just write 0 here, but yeah, basically it's the same as if I would write 0, but just to be sure, if I would have just some movement on the Z axis, I'm sure that I have this one right here set up, so that if, for example, my background plane wouldn't be at Z0, I'm just sure that I would still get correct results. This I'm making into new vector 3, and then I'm converting it into world points. And then I'm actually moving my character or my player to the new position. I'm doing that with my favorite method, move towards. It takes 3 arguments. The first argument is the position at the moment, where it currently is, so just transform that position. Then the new position where it should go, so I have that right here, so I can just type new position. And then average speed. And the speed, of course, I have to multiply with time.delta time to get frame rate independent results. The next section right here to look at the cursor is actually looking pretty complicated because it's just some math stuff, but actually if you get a hang of it, it's pretty obvious. So to be more precise about what Agent 2 does, I made this little thing in GeoGebra, and what you do is calculate the distance between the player and the mouse on the x-axis, as well as the distance on the y-axis. And what Agent 2 then does is get us an angle between 2 lines, which is the player and the mouse, and the 0 on the x-axis, and shows us the angle right here, where the alpha right here is. This is getting us an angle in radians, and then we convert it into degrees. I hope now you understood this little piece of math a bit better, and maybe you can use it yourself. And why I divided the score by 2 right here. Going on to the next function, it's of course the on-trigger enter. So every time a trigger enters or capsule collider on the player, I decrement the health by 1, and of course update my UI so that the health is displayed correctly. If the health is less or equal to 0, it's of course game over, and I could instantiate particles, but at the moment it does not matter because I just simply reload my scene. Of course I could just have some kind of game over screen, and of course I have an enemy script. On the enemy script I again have basically just the on-trigger enter function, but of course also my update function, which again is a little look at the cursor function, and the look at cursor function is right here. It's basically the same as before with the Agent 2, so it's just getting the player's position and its position itself, and then getting the distance between those, and then getting the radians into degrees. And I had to have a little -90 right here because I wanted to get the sprite rotated 90 degrees to the left, because otherwise it would be strangely offset, and that's because the A star pathfinding. So I just simply fixed that right here with this little -90, and of course set the rotation to the right rotation. So that's done in the update method, and of course I have another on trigger enter, but on the enemy side there has to be a bit more, because it could either collide with a player or another enemy. The player can just collide with an enemy because there can be just one player. So if it hits a player, they are just tagged player and enemy, it will destroy itself and instantiate particles. The player handles the health stuff. It's just easier for me to code. And if it collides with an enemy, it will of course destroy itself and instantiate particles. And now you say, okay, but it then will just emit 2 particle systems. Yeah, it's right, and I don't care, because it's just easier for me to code. If you have an easy solution for that problem, to instantiate just 1 particle systems if 2 enemies collide with the same script on them, go ahead and write them. And of course we have the to score up the player. It's just a accessing the player script and then increment the score by 1. I don't want to go over the wave spawner completely, because the wave spawner is mostly Brecky's script. I just modified it a bit. I, for example, made it so that every time a new wave comes, it's a bit more difficult. You can of course copy the script. You can just download it on Gumroad, as I said. It will loop through waves. There are 2 pre-made waves I made, and all waves have a specific count, how many enemies are getting spawned, and the rate defines how often those enemies are spawned. And every time 2 waves are spawned, the wave script will continue spawning new waves, but every time it loops through, it will get 2 more enemies for every wave, and then of course also increment the rate a bit. And that's a bit weird, but the higher the rate, the more often enemies are getting spawned. And then what's the comment right here is just another method you could use to just gradually count how many enemies are getting spawned. But I found that to be a bit too difficult, because then you just have because at some point you just have your complete screen full of enemies. Yeah, this part I can just show you in Unity itself. It's right here on the game manager. You can see right here I have my waves, and it's just 2 waves, and I have the first wave is just 2 enemies, and the second wave is 3 enemies at the same rate. And then if I would go ahead and play, you just have to look at those counts, because when I complete those 2 waves, they will count up. You saw right there, you have 4 and 5 right now, and now you have 6 and 7. But you saw my point probably. Every time it went through, it just had a new, pretty much a harder wave, and it just goes on forever. So you have a wave spawner that gets more difficult every time it loops. And that's actually pretty rare to find. I did not find many results. I just took Bracky's wave spawner and made it a bit differently. I just modified it a bit. Still, thank you, Brackies. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider subscribing and liking this video. And if you want to have a closer look at this project, don't forget to check out my Gumroad. There will also be a few future packs I will release right there. And so yeah, see you in the next one.